My name is Brittany Chevalier McIntyre, and I'm the executive editor at Luxe Interiors and Design magazine. I'm so happy to be here today with Dee Gundberg, Director of Product Development and Design at the beloved tile company Ann Sachs. Based in Portland, Oregon, Ann Sachs creates and curates the world's finest assortment of tile and stone. As a recognized expert in her field, Dee has been instrumental in developing Ann Sachs as a leader in the luxury tile industry. She has worked within the tile and stone category since 1995, when she first joined Ann Sachs, and is known throughout the industry for her creativity, passion, and knowledge. Dee is responsible for leading the creative direction of Ann Sachs, sourcing the finest materials from all over the world, and building out its portfolio of curated products. She also works with the Ann Sachs Made Factory in the production of the bespoke line. Today, we'll be delving into this brand and story, getting to know Dee and all that Ann Sachs has to offer. So Dee, happy 30th anniversary to Made by Ann Sachs. It's a really exciting time for the brand. So starting out, would you like to briefly speak to your role at the company? And for anyone who doesn't know, maybe you can speak to how Ann Sachs started and its current offerings.
Absolutely. So I oversee the creative direction and development of our assortment and also manage showroom design and construction projects. So as far as product development goes, I work very closely with our merchandising team to determine what our needs are. And then we have a wonderful team of amazing artists and vendors that we work with to develop our programs. I would say that we are most known for our surfaces. So that includes everything from ceramic to porcelain, stone, concrete, and glass. But we also offer plumbing from our sister brands, Roburn and Callista. So we have a really unique opportunity to offer the complete solution. And really the pillars most important to us are quality, craftsmanship, curated design, and really making sure that our clients have a luxury experience. And as far as Ann Sachs was founded, it's kind of a fun story.
I love this story.
Yeah, so Ann Sachs was in a little boutique in Portland, Oregon, and she saw these beautiful hand-painted Talavera tiles that they were selling as trivets. And they kind of reminded her of her summers in Mexico where she spent some time as a kid, where the bathrooms were tiled floor to ceiling in these gorgeous tiles. And she thought, if they could sell these as trivets, I could probably sell them as bathroom tiles and sell a lot more of them. And so she tiled her entire home and used her home as a showroom for a while. And then in 1981, she opened her first showroom in Portland, Oregon.
Wow, so next year will be the 40th anniversary then.
Yeah, so it's the 30th anniversary of our factory. Yeah.
Wow, so exciting. Now moving on to Made by Ann Sachs. This line is extraordinary for so many reasons, but one is really the factory in Portland. Everything is done in-house. So can you tell me a little bit about that and also the step-by-step process of making these various collections in the factory? And then also I'd love to learn more about the half moon tile. So
yeah. Definitely, I love that tile. So our factory is actually literally attached to our corporate office. It's right here, which it's a wonderful resource to have that right in our backyard. There is an incredible amount of craft that goes into the product that we make. It's made by true artisans who are really, really passionate about what they're doing. And I think that that definitely shows in the product line and the end result. So I can walk you through sort of the life of a tile using the modern ribbed moon design as the tile. And it all starts with inspiration. So the inspiration for that was those beautiful metal grates that kind of go around tree trunks and, city sidewalks. And we thought that would be a beautiful design for a tile. So we briefed the design team and kind of showed them some sketches and designs that we loved. And then they translate those into drawings and different options. And once we choose an option, then they make a wax mold. And this is really one of the most important parts of the design process, because it really allows us to see the tile in 3D, and we can really look at scale and texture and line detail and all those things to make sure that it's working. And then once the wax mold is approved, they make a rubber mold, and then it goes through the production process. And during the production process, that tile is touched 9 times at least by the human hand, whether it's, hand trimming, hand sanding, hand mixing the glaze, hand spraying it. So it truly is a handcrafted tile.
The attention to detail is just, it's extraordinary. It's very cool. I love it. And I know that tile, it's part of the modern collection, correct? And
yes.
While it has modern in the title, it can really work in any environment, in contemporary or traditional. And I think that, that's so cool, that versatility seems to really be front of mind, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think that's one of the main benefits of this collection. It has such breadth, and we can accommodate so many different design styles. So traditional, transitional, modern, rustic. And I think that's really important for designers as well, because they're constantly flexing and transitioning between design styles, for their clients. So it is definitely top of mind.
How about your designer collection? You've done so many collaborations with designers like, Barbara Barry and Vincent Wolf, just to name a few. There are many more. But I especially love this collection with Kelly Wearstler. I mean, who doesn't love Kelly Wearstler? And how the inspiration was a piece of a leather upholstery from one of her collections. And this tile looks so much like leather. It's unbelievable. You want to touch it and reach out to it. So tell me about how these collaborations work, and where do the inspirations come from?
So we're very honored to work with some incredible talent in the industry, and our designer partnerships promote brand awareness, and they create a diversity of design style in our assortment, which is wonderful. And each designer really works a little bit differently. Some of them are extremely specific, and they know exactly what they want from the get-go. And others are more about sharing inspiration and then looking at different mediums or techniques to bring, their vision to life. But the souffle chair was a fun one with Kelly Wearstler, because that ruched leather is so amazing, and it's an iconic design that she's known for, and it just made so much sense to try to make this in tile. And actually our first few attempts were not very successful, because when we kind of grouted it up, it didn't have the frame around it yet. And the grout was just, getting in those ruched little nooks and crannies there. And it looked really bad. So we put a frame around it, and the problem was solved. But it's a great example of how it's really important to always think about the final result when you're going through the design process, right? So how is the tile going to repeat on the wall? What is the grout going to look like? How is the glaze going to break on the edge? These are all really important questions to ask during the design process, so that you end up with a beautiful tile in the end.
So the Provençal collection is it's one of my favorites. While the tiles are so simple, the color just pops. And I understand that it was inspired by Provence in southern France, correct?
Yeah, so this is a gorgeous collection, and inspired by very beautiful hand-glazed, handmade terracotta tiles that are very famous for their bright colors, very straight edge details, and this just gorgeous undulated surface. And so I knew that we wanted to do something like that in our factory for sure. And we were pretty successful with the palette very early on, but that straight edge detail and that, perfect distressing on the surface is a little harder, but we figured it out. And I love that program because it's so versatile. It could be used in so many wonderful, applications, and the colors are just incredibly vibrant. And that's really important. Color, of course, is super important.
Super important. We'll get to color in a second, but I love those tiles because they are versatile. You can use them anywhere. And The colors just really, they speak to me. So as an expert in the field, I would love to know the difference between earthenware and stoneware. So I understand that stoneware is fired at a higher temperature and earthenware it's more porous in nature, but do all the differences lay in appearance, or is it also functionality where it can be used?
It's a little bit of both. So earthenware body is a white tile body, and it tends to have a lot less variation in it than a stoneware body. So a stoneware body, like you said, it's fired at a higher temperature, but it also fires longer. So stoneware fires for about 12 hours in the kiln, and earthenware only fires for about 80 minutes. And so stoneware tends to have much more interactive glazes, much more variation, and it does tend to be a little bit stronger. It's about 10% stronger.
Okay. Going back to the colors,
Mhm.
how many different colors are available? I know that there's tons and tons of colors available through the Made by Ann Sachs collection, and I understand that they're customizable.
Yes.
Can you explain this range in customization and color?
Sure. So between all of the different bodies, we have 111 colors. So there's a lot to choose from. But if you can't find what you need, we can always custom match anything for you. All you have to do is send us a swatch of whatever you want, and then our team will match it. And we've had some interesting requests. So we once had someone want the color of Campari. So we had them, of course, send us a bottle, and we matched it, and then, of course, we sent it back. But we also had someone want us to match a banana. And, you know, as you know, bananas change color over time and they darken. And so we had to work on that one really quickly. But it's a really simple process. We can do a match in maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and we can do whatever you need.
That's incredible that it's so quick
Yeah.
and that you can really work with any customer with what they need. So also, one other thing that Ann Sachs does so well is speaking to current trends and colors through tile. And what is so prolific is that you do it without being trendy. These tiles are statement pieces that last for a lifetime. So are you constantly researching these trends, or do these designs just come across your desk with people asking for them?
We are constantly looking at trends in the market and seeing what we can apply to our product line, and definitely looking forward to long-term trends as opposed to trendy trends. And sometimes that can be a fine line. So we try to attend some of the trend shows like Maison or Salone to really see what's happening in the design business, and then really help us to understand what's happening with color.
So what's new and next on the horizon for Made by Ann Sachs? Can you share anything, or?
Well, we are exploring different techniques and different processes to see what new and exciting things we can come up with in our factory. We're stretching a little bit beyond what we normally do, but I know it sounds a little vague, but we don't want to give away our secrets, so you'll have to wait and see.
Oh, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see. So I just have one more question. Since you've been with the Ann Sachs brand, how has tile and stone changed as a category?
Well, considering I've been here 25 years, it's changed a lot. First of all, I think there's more options to choose from today than there was 25 years ago, for sure. From, you know, ceramics and glass to wood and metal, semi-precious stones. So those are all kind of new categories. And then, of course, the trends have changed. So, you know, you start with beige, and then you had a good 15 years of gray, and now beige is back, which is wonderful. And started with 4x4 tiles, and then they went to 24x24, and now we're back to 4x4. So everything comes full circle. And then technology has changed too. So for instance, porcelain tiles look great. So inkjet technology in porcelain tiles has really allowed that medium to look like stone or look like wood or concrete, and it looks great. So that is also a big change over the years.
Well, Dee Dee, thank you so much for joining us today on our Maker segment, and thank you to our viewers for tuning into Design TV. My name is Brittany Chevalier McIntyre. We'll see you soon. Hello, my name is Brittany Chevalier McIntyre, and I'm the executive editor at Luxe Interiors and Design Magazine. Welcome to our Makers segment on DesignTV with Gaggenau, the luxury brand for professional grade home appliances. I am thrilled to be here with Gaggenau's artisan and creative director, Sven Baca, and renowned architect, David Montalba, founding principal of Montalba Architects in Los Angeles. Sven and David, thank you for joining me today. For those who aren't familiar with Gaggenau, this heritage brand manufactures high quality home appliances and is an innovative leader in design and technology. For over 3 centuries, this German company has revolutionized the domestic kitchen with its internationally acclaimed products that unite the best of modern technology and superior materials. Today, we're going to discuss Gaggenau's creative vision, product design, manufacturing process, and performance, especially when it comes to their new Combi steam oven. So starting with you, Sven, you've been the artisan and creative director since 2003. Can you please tell me more about your role and the history of Gaggenau as a company?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. Well, Gaggenau is a very interesting brand. As you mentioned before, it's founded in 1683. Yeah, you're right, over 333 years ago. It's very old. I don't know much companies that are at such a heritage. Gaggenau was founded as a forge. They did nails and metal processing, and still stainless steel is one of our favorite materials to work with. So my role is to really get all those things together. Gaggenau has a very holistic approach, talking about the kitchen, talking about lifestyle, doing professional tools for cooking and storing within the kitchen.
So how does Gaggenau set itself apart as a long-standing brand when it comes to product design, materials, and handcrafted artistic engineering? And also, what makes this company inherently German?
Well, talking cliche, well, what is typical German? I think Gaggenau was founded in the Black Forest, that it's a very typical spot known for its very ingenious people there. And of course, it's about German design and German engineering, being very precise, having the perfect tool for the kitchen. And what we are doing is we just, I don't know if we can call that, we domesticate the professional kitchen appliances within your home so that you can use it at home in different sizes and put it perfectly into your architecture.
So I'd love to learn a little bit about your artisan and creative process. And is it different depending on which type of appliance you are designing and producing?
Of course, it depends on what appliance you do, but at the end of the day, it's all about this, what I mentioned before, holistic approach. So it's not about only an oven or a fridge or a wine refrigerator. It's about your home. It's about your house. It's about your family, how you live, how you cook, how you store things. The approach is always, I think, in the same way. We just observe, we listen a lot. Designers are very curious to find out how people use the products, how they are built in by architects. And so we develop these different products and things.
I also know that they're tested many times before they're even released, correct?
Yes, it's like that. So there's a lot of, let's say, mock-up working about showing to people, watching how they incorporate with them, how they use it, and then getting them better and better. Also working with international chefs, also together with architects. So it's a very complex thing to put such an appliance to life.
So David, I know that, your work has been featured in Luxe magazine, and also looking at other projects. I see that you incorporate Gaggenau signature products into most, if not all, of your architectural designs. So since your aesthetic tends to be very sleek and modern, is this why you choose Gaggenau?
Well, thanks, Brittany. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of factors. I think on the surface, typically aesthetics drives a lot of that. I think when you really start to understand and use Gagnow as a user, I think you start to understand there's a lot more depth to their product and their design and their philosophy than most people realize. And although initially we gravitated towards it because of its alignment per se with our aesthetics, I think when you close a Gagnow oven, when you open a Gagnow fridge, I mean, these tactile things, you can really feel the quality. And I think that certainly stands far above some of the other brands that are out there in the marketplace. I think there's also a craftsmanship and a commitment to design within the company. And you see that and feel that as a user in terms of the thoughtfulness that goes into the products, which, you know, it's hard to want to use anything else, frankly. I mean, there's so much, I think there's so much depth to their products and their merchandise. And I think their whole approach in really thinking about cooking and how one incorporates those kinds of somewhat mundane appliances into their lifestyle, yet you really enjoy using their products. So I think we really think it both is aesthetic and also sort of integral to our design approach. And I think that we share that approach with Gagnow, which is why we use them.
Something that I love about the Gagnow products is that no matter the color palette that's used in a kitchen, whether it's cooler tones or warm woods, the product's interface always seems to fit so nicely. Don't you agree, David? I mean, everything just fits seamlessly.
Well, I think, you know, you have to have a confidence as a brand. And I think Sven spoke about that in terms of the heritage of the brand, to not feel like you need to stand out and go with trends. And I think its timelessness is something that is really difficult to achieve in product design. And Sven could probably speak to this better than I. But really, if you think about great design, whether it's the 911 or other product design, the staple, I mean, the paperclip, I mean, these things are timeless icons in design. And I think Gagnow, although it doesn't yet have the prominence of the paperclip in our lives, I think it stands for that kind of depth and simplicity and craftsmanship that I think we certainly appreciate in other brands. Like Porsche is a good example that's similar in terms of its origins.
So Sven, as an international brand, I understand that cooking habits change on a global scale. You know, the US is all about refrigerator organization, while Italy is more about the cooktop and cooking itself. So how do you take all of these various styles into consideration when you're designing?
Well, that's a good point. Gagnow is a global brand, so as you mentioned, it's really available around the globe. It's totally different how people cook, how people behave. And in Germany, for example, it's all about the oven. It's the middle of the kitchen. And in the US, probably also the huge fridge that sometimes is quite amazing for us Europeans. But we also just got these back also to Europe because it's really a good thing to have them. So it's a lot about research. It's also, again, about listening to what's going to happen. But still, what we are want to achieve is that we have one global design language. So it's not that we have different design languages within different countries. Of course, there are restrictions or special cooking habits, or some appliances that are more important than others. But design language, and thanks to David, I couldn't tell it better. Thanks, David, for describing Gagnow style and design. It's about being very clean and contemporary and very timeless and fitting to nearly every kitchen without being too, let's say, prominent and too much in the forefront. And I think that's what people love all over the globe, besides, of course, having the perfect tool for cooking.
So Sven, now let's talk about the new Combi steam oven. Gagnow brought the first Combi steam oven into private kitchens in 1999, allowing the everyday home chef to use methods that were only used in professional kitchens. And then 15 years later, you launched another model with the ability to self-clean. So what type of advancements and changes were made to the newest 400 and 200 series that are recently launching? Can you tell us?
Well, I think that the biggest change is that it's really very broad available with different solutions for the self-cleaning. What is really perfect, because cooking is pretty fun. Cleaning up is not what we really like to do. So it's perfect to also have this function all over different models, and not to mention the sheer size. So we got it bigger. So we can also have the supports also from the oven to the steam oven and back and forth. Not to also forgot to mention the illumination that I personally as a designer pretty much like. You don't see it, but it's the perfect stage for your meal. And to be honest, if you once have used the steam oven, you don't want to get without it anymore. It's pretty the perfect. It's one of my love products that I also personally have at home.
Yes, I hear once you use it, you can't go back. There's no going back from using it. Is the manufacturing and craftsmanship process any different for this steam oven?
Well, there's a lot of, let's say, of course, there are also machines and doing welding and all those things. But at the end of the day, it's still some kind of a manual process to be finished by hand to really get these products on a standard where they are. And some things machines can't really do. So it's there's a lot of handcrafting also for the display module itself. And it's done all in one factory. So it's a very interesting thing to watch, that you have the metal processing from the coil, from the sheet, for the inner liners and for the cavity on the one hand. And so there are a lot of steps to put the thing together. And it's, well, as I mentioned before, the final touch is made by hand, of course.
I also understand that you can control it online, correct? So you could be away from it, out of the house, and control it online.
And you could do, so we call it Home Connect. So it's an app that you can use. So you can have, there are a lot of recipes that you can use, and they are currently constantly updated. But you can also, if there's a timer, you can set the end time. You get noticed while you might be out in the garden. So this is something that is a pretty interesting feature that you have. So really have the full control, even if you are not in the house.
That's incredible. So David, I understand that your home is outfitted with multiple signature pieces by Gaggenau. So as an experienced user, it isn't really only about aesthetics. It's really about the performance, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, having spent so much time, I probably have spent more time at home here at our home in the States than ever during quarantine. And, you know, whether it's myself or my 10-year-old son, making madeleines or whatever it may be, I think everyone's more engaged with their kitchen. So it's a really unique time in our lives to get to enjoy a Gaggenau kitchen. I think, you know, there's a lot of different ways we've sort of started to enjoy our kitchen that we didn't think we would. And one of them is the pizza stone, which frankly, we don't even buy pizza anymore, and we don't want to, because that pizza stone is so amazing. And I remember, you know, I think as Sven sort of talks about the craft and sort of the process of making, when I mentioned it to Sven, he had told me that it was made in a small village in Germany by hand. And, you know, I think that's something that we, as designers, really appreciate, both in terms of the contrast between the simplicity of design and the depth of practical use, but also this elegance and streamlined look, but at the same time, it's very crafted and very handmade to what Sven was speaking to. So I think that's just a real joy to get to engage in and participate in our kitchen. I think another interesting thing from the markets, which is the American market, and we have a home in Switzerland with a Gaggenau oven and appliances, and we also have one here in the States. And sometimes people will come to our house in the States that are accustomed to sort of larger things, and they'll see our two ovens and they'll say, well, how do you cook a turkey? And frankly, I remember during Thanksgiving, my wife cooked a 15-pound turkey, but you don't even think you can fit it in. And I think that's sort of the subtle discretion that Gaggenau brings, is that you've got the depth of use and all the practicalities that a professional chef may want, yet you've got the aesthetics and the discretion the designer really looks for in terms of complementing design. So yeah, whether it's the pizza stone or the oven, I think we've really enjoyed it and continue to.
Yes, well, this has been so wonderful to learn so much about Gaggenau. And Sven and David, thank you so much for joining us today on our Gaggenau Makers segment. And thank you to our viewers for tuning into Design TV. My name is Brittany Chevalier McIntyre, and we'll see you next time.